Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yay, let's go. Except I absolutely hate the cold weather. Oh, I'm one of the biggest babies in the world when it comes to cold weather. I am from here. This is as cold as I've ever experienced in my life. And this crap where snow falls out of the sky, ice, solid water falls out of the sky and sticks to the ground. That's something that's for the TV. That's not for me. That's not for me. So I need to know when this winter weather is going to leave some snow on the ground, if it's going to leave some snow on the ground, when it is, when it's going to be gone. And for help with that, Sarah Barnes is on from the National Weather Service over in Fort Worth. Welcome back, Sarah. I hadn't had to talk to you in a while, but is it going to snow?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, so the answer, put it simply, yes. Our confidence continues to increase that we will see impactful winter weather later this week, which is going to result in hazardous travel conditions both Thursday and Friday. The main round of snow is expected to begin late Wednesday night and will increase in coverage and intensity throughout the day Thursday. Heavy snow is going to be possible at times. And then all snow will eventually come to an end Friday morning, but we will continue to see impacts until temperatures climb comfortably above freezing later in the day. Right now we're expecting widespread rainfall totals between 2 and 5 inches. Isolated areas will see higher totals, and somewhere in North Texas could even see upwards of 8 inches, but it's not exactly possible to pinpoint exactly who's going to see these higher rainfall or snowfall totals at this time. So these details are going to continue to change over the next few days. So the best thing that everybody can do is to continue to monitor the forecast and consider altering any late week travel plans.
Well, I have a hard time believing here, Sarah Barnes, because when I left work on Friday, I was under the impression it may get here on next Friday. That timetable has been moved up to Wednesday. What changed?
Yeah, it's just the way that our models work. Sometimes they're a bit slower with the system. We were considering a lot of different models at the end of last week, and so they've all finally came into agreement that it's going to be more mid to late week.
Is it going to stick?
We are expecting snow accumulations. Thankfully, we're not expecting much in the way of ice accumulations. This should mostly be snow for North Texas. So we are expecting it to stick, though, with those 2 to 5 inches of snow possible for a good part of North Texas.
How concerned should we be about bridges icing over?
Bridges icing over, I wouldn't say that's as much of a concern unless we see any partial melting, especially if people drive on the roadways. That could definitely refreeze Thursday night into Friday morning. So it's going to be hazardous out there on the roads, at least into Friday.
Yeah, because I know that's when things get wild here in the WBAP newsroom. If bridges freeze over, people start playing bumper cars, and that's kind of like my boundary on when things get out of hand.
Right, yeah, those bridges definitely become dangerous once they start freezing over, but hopefully the snow will help at least a little bit with traction, but once people start getting out and driving, that could, of course, cause some melting and refreezing.
Are we in the territory where you're supposed to be wrapping your pipes outside your house?
Definitely. We hope that you already did that, considering it's already pretty dang cold outside. But, yeah, you definitely want to keep those pipes wrapped for the next few days because it's going to be chilly every night with temperatures in the 20s.
Well, don't make assumptions, Sarah. Some of us aren't on top of things like that.
Well, I hope so, because it's definitely winter, and if you've lived here in North Texas, you know it gets cold occasionally. So.
Okay, so when does the cold weather get out of here?
At least for the next few days, it looks like it's going to stick around. We have highs in the 30s each day, and then maybe we'll finally get into the 40s this weekend, but it'll still be cold.
Well, my phone tells me we have a 95% chance of snow on Thursday, but you said it's going to hit us Wednesday.
It looks like Wednesday night is when it should begin, and then most of it is going to be falling on Thursday, and eventually ending from west to east Friday morning.
All right, Sarah Barnes, National Weather Service, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
See, talk to a real-life meteorologist, get some of that out the way. And I'm going to apologize in advance if I, whine about cold weather, because I am a big baby about it, but at least I'm a self-aware big baby about it. I just don't like being cold. I don't understand you people that there's always one jerk, when you're outside and it's freezing and it's windy, some guy walks by in shorts and a t-shirt. Don't be that guy. That guy really makes me mad. I know you're not really comfortable. I know you're almost showing off. It's almost like not a virtue signal, but sort of a, insulation or cold tolerance virtue signal of some sort. Don't be that guy. But it's going to be the first big freeze of the year for DFW. You have any secrets, any tips for dealing with the freezing weather? I'd love to hear all that. And look, let me go and throw this out here. I don't believe in the wind chill. I know it's a thing technically, like they say it on the news, and it's like, well, James, if it's this temperature, but the wind's blowing this hard, then it feels like this other temperature. Well, no, it's still that temperature with the wind. It's sort of the inverse of the heat index. Like, James, if it's going to be 99 degrees, but it's this humid, then it's going to feel like it's 104. Okay, yeah, but I'm going to come back here 10 years from now, and it'll be 99 degrees, and it'll feel the exact same. And the last time it was 99 degrees, this is what it felt like. So, no, it just feels like 99 degrees. But no, James, it's not the same. No, it's just a way for the news media to show you the most extreme number possible, because that doesn't get your attention if it's 99. It'll get your attention if it's 104. And it doesn't get your attention as much if, it's 33 degrees right now, but the wind chill's 24. And so I really think that's part of because the word feels like probably shouldn't be anywhere near something that's supposed to be scientific. You're a meteorologist, not a weather commentary opinion columnist. You're a scientist. There's no feels. Like, there's no feelings in science. Oh, it feels hotter. No, that's what 99 feels like. We've been here our entire lives. That's always what it feels like. So, all right. Any comments on the cold weather? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, some quick updates on the attacks in New Orleans and Las Vegas. Is there a connection? Do we have a better bead on the motive of the Vegas guy? You'll find out in about 4 minutes. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, sports fans. James Parker here for Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. And you're seeing one of the advantages of Prize Picks now. If you're just in regular old boring fantasy sports with a handful of other people, your season's over. Yeah, that you can't last through the playoffs. See, that's the difference. This is daily fantasy sports app. So you can enjoy the fun through the playoffs, through the Super Bowl, through all these other championships, through whatever league that you're looking for and whatever sport you're looking for. They probably got it. Go check it out. And I thought the $1,000 times your cash, I thought that was just a Christmas promotion. They're still doing that. So you get a lineup between 2 and 6 players. You pick more or less on a statistic that they throw out there. And if you get all of them, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. So go check it out to get you started with your first $5 play. If you use promo code WBAP, you get $50 to play with. So why not get some $50? Play with it, turn it into real money, and then you can walk off with it. So download the Prize Picks app. Promo code WBAP, $50 with your first $5 play. I'm James Parker. Prize Picks. Run your game. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Ken Paxton slated to be on the show at about 3:05. He just wrapped up, I think he might still be in there. There's a meeting with the Tarrant County Republicans that he's at today, but it started at noon, so it's probably over by the time the show started. He has another one coming up at 6 o'clock tonight in Tyler. I'll let you know details about that, but if you have a question you want me to ask him, he's going to be on in about 45 minutes or so. You can send me an email. You can call in and tell Garrett the question. Send me a Facebook message. Just let me know. I'll pass along the questions to him. I had mentioned it on Friday and I already got like 2 questions over the weekend. So, hey, we'll do some more. But back to the top headlines of the day. I'm still trying to break down this Vegas truck bomber situation. We got what we think is his manifesto. He'd sent an email to an online show, sort of like a video show, like podcast, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. And it's just weird because the official story is so weird. This is a guy who just texted his ex about, hey, I got this cool rental. Look, I rented a Cybertruck. They talked about their future plans. And then he bought 2 weapons that really don't make any sense, especially if you're like a career Green Beret guy. Don't you already, I don't know, have weapons? And then you make a bomb that military guys will tell you that's not what they teach us to make. That's actually kind of terrible. I mean, that's not even the right materials. It's low burning or whatever that means. We got some fireworks in there. What is this, an Adam Sandler movie? So, shot himself in the head before blowing himself up randomly in front of Trump's building, but I'm under the impression that he's a pro-Trump guy, so I just am having such a hard time with that one, and the New Orleans one happened at the same time. And the frustrating part is the media, because when you try and dig into it, all right, let's learn more about these guys. What do we know more? There's new information on the New Orleans guy over the weekend that you probably don't know about. We know all about this guy's guns. Okay, yeah, he bought some guns here in Arlington. One of the guns he bought here in Arlington. What does that have to do with anything? Well, it was a private purchase, so it was a legal purchase, and he did it on the 2 days before he did the attack. Okay, and then I can't play you the audio because it's from some TV stations that we don't have agreements with, but they keep using terms semi-automatic pistol and a semi-automatic rifle, and it's so embarrassing. Media people, listen to me. If you don't know anything about guns, don't just throw in scary sounding adjectives, because you're like admitting you're a gun dunce. And I'm no like gun nut. People call me and correct me all the time. But the way they try and serve up every little detail about this guy's guns, it just sounds silly to people who just have a cursory basic knowledge of gun. And for people who don't, I know you probably understand, but for the 20% of people who are listening to WBAP who aren't as familiar with guns as you are, I have a good metaphor to help non-gun people understand this. So, like, whenever they use semi-automatic in the news, it means they're just shoehorning the detail. Imagine if they did this for cars. Yes, it was an automatic transmission car. There was a drive-by at a block party near Keast Park. Suspects were seen in a blue Astro van with an automatic transmission. Well, you'd say, well, that's dumb. What was that to do with anything? Oh, he wasn't having to shift gears on his way out? There was a hit and run in Farmers Branch. Victim was struck by what police believe is a black 2-door truck with an automatic transmission. Oh, well, good thing we know that. That'll totally help us get to the bottom of this mystery. And it's a silly addition for the same reasons. The biggest, most painfully obvious one is that the absolute overwhelming majority of guns use these days are semi-auto, especially the pistols. Just like the overwhelming majority of cars these days are automatic. And what does it matter if it's a semi-automatic pistol versus what, a revolver? Whoop-de-doo. What does that have to do with anything? Because no one was under the impression it was like one of those flintlocks, one of those single shot ones that like the Three Musketeers carried around. You don't have to throw it in there. I get it. You think guns are scary and you want other people to be scared of guns, so you throw in some scary sounding adjectives. So it's not just a regular old single shot musket out there. It's not even the revolver that Yosemite Sam carried. It's a semi-automatic gun. Now aren't you doubly scared? That's so scary. No, it's not scary. Ridiculous. the reason why you'll also find this frustrating is not just that these people are scared of guns. Do you know the name of anything important about his motivation? Yeah, we know everything about the gun. We know all the details. We know whether it was a private seller, not a gun dealer. We know where it was purchased. We know it was here in Arlington. We know the gun, caliber, all that stuff. Do you know the name of his mosque? Oh, yeah. Maybe that is something that could help us get to the bottom of this mystery more so than the private gun transaction from some dude in Arlington. Do you know the name of the imam who was mentoring him through his conversion? Do we know that? Wouldn't that be a more useful piece of information if we were trying to get to the bottom of this mystery? Do you know who he visited in Egypt? Do you know who he visited when he went to Ontario? Do you know the name of the IED or the trigger or the explosive, or was it C4 or was it, I don't know, plastic? Was it tannerite? I mean, do you know anything about that? No. But you know the rifle was semi-automatic, so it wasn't like a lever action rifle like Chuck Connor used in the Rifleman set in the damn 1800s. You're useless, media, when you do this. You are failing us when you focus on trying to make everyone scared of guns while having just no bit of journalistic curiosity about the actual details in this case that matter. Aren't these details far more important? Journalists, shouldn't you be digging into what led this guy to do this? Not his backup plan? No, just not even a little bit of journalistic curiosity about the ideology that motivated the murder of 14 of your own neighbors? Who cared whether this guy got a pistol over where'd he get his ISIS flag? My God, the media is sick, man. Shouldn't the media be digging into details on these videos that he uploaded in the hours before the attack? No, but you know, everything's scary about the gun. So they'll spend plenty of time scaring you about the gun, but not really about why the guy did it. Why? It doesn't fit the narrative. Because you know what's more important to understanding why this attack happened, how to keep it safe in the future, how to minimize the risk in the future. The gun's background or this person's background. So if you are in the media and you can hear this, number one, stop referring to guns as semi-automatic. You sound like a child. Sounds like Fisher Price, My First News Report. You're admitting you're ignorant of guns. So that's the first piece of advice. Second piece of advice, why don't you actually look into person's background? Why don't you actually look and find his mosque, find his imam, find where he got the flag, where did he get this idea, who taught him to make the IEDs? Far more important than your scary adjectives. Oh, it's a semi-automatic pistol. I mean, if you're going to do that, you might as well just go ahead and put pronouns in your bio. Coming up next, December jobs report's coming out on Friday. What can you expect from them? We'll find out from Mark Hamrick from Bankrate. Oh, Ken Paxton's coming on next? Oh, well, that's good news. Well, I found out on the fly here. Ken Paxton had to move it up. So instead of him being on at 3:05, he's going to be on next. The Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, he's in town. He just completed a meeting in Fort Worth. I'll tell you where he's going to be at 6 o'clock tonight. Coming up next, I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, what's going on that's so important? The Attorney General's in town. He just wrapped up a public event in Fort Worth. He's going to be in Tyler at 6 o'clock tonight, and he joins us right now to explain himself. Welcome back, Ken Paxton, Attorney General, State of Texas. What brings you to town?
Well, we have a speaker's race that's pretty important to the state of Texas. For the last 16 years, the Democrats have block voted, and a few Republicans go with them, and they end up controlling the speakership, which then ultimately controls what types of legislation get through. And the problem with that for Republicans is a lot of our key priorities, whether it's election integrity, school choice, property tax relief, the things that Republicans care about don't get through because the Democrats control the speakership.
Yeah, and that's people address similar complaints to me, like why do we have Republicans in every important position in this state and we still can't get things like school choice passed? And I think this is kind of the answer to that.
It's the answer because it only takes a few Republicans to join the Democrats, 15 or so, to cut a coalition, and then those 15 Republicans get key positions. But what they do is they help the Democrats block the things that we care about. So we have the governorship, we have the Senate does a great job, and then we have the House, which is a key component of that holds everything up that we all care about.
All right, Ken Paxton, you have another event coming up tonight in Tyler at 6 o'clock. It's on the Holiday Inn, South Broadway, the one across from Best Buy and whatnot. That's my hometown. Who needs to go to that?
I think Texans who are interested in what's going on in the state. I mean, this is as important an issue as we've got in our state, because if we can't in a week, the House convenes, a little over a week convenes, and they're gonna pick a speaker, and that's going to have a determinative effect on whether we're going to pass good legislation over the next 2 years. We've been blocked for 16 years, and we have the opportunity, like we haven't had over the last 16 years, to change that. So I think if constituents show their interest and they talk to their state representative, we can get this done, because ultimately they're the ones that decide.
Well, when I announced you were coming on the show, David and Forney said, ask Ken Paxton to address the Kaufman and Henderson County State Rep Keith Bale. He supported Dade Phelan. He voted to have you impeached, and he's been a thorn in their side for 18 years. I get a lot of that, though. People have identified their local guy. They don't like him, and they just can't get rid of him.
Yeah, and I think because so many people they're not aware of the problems that Keith Bell has created. He does it quietly. He comes back and tells his constituents he's done all this great stuff, but he doesn't tell them the truth. He doesn't tell them what he blocked. He doesn't tell them that he mostly worked with the Democrats to get stuff done. And the media doesn't cover that normally. I mean, you do, but most of the media won't tell the truth about what Keith Bell is doing. This is a time that we're exposing that, and I'm hoping that exposure, that transparency will ultimately will win out.
I noticed you had some criticism for the FBI officials who said the New Orleans attack wasn't terrorism. Why don't you relay to the people listening your first reaction to that?
Well, it's hard to believe. I mean, they barely done an investigation. I'm shocked that they quickly concluded that. In my mind, it looks like a terrorist attack, and I'm not exactly sure. They never really gave an explanation of why they are saying that. But I want to know more. I want more transparency from the FBI. That's another huge problem in this country that I hope the new FBI director, Kash Patel, is going to fix, because at this point, I don't trust the FBI in almost anything.
What's up with guns at the State Fair of Texas? I saw there's a bill from Briscoe Cain that could put gun rights in all government leases. Does that overlap with your job any?
I mean, we're still involved in litigation over that, because I think what the legislature already passed was sufficient. Of course, the courts made a different decision, at least temporarily, to let that go forward. They didn't let us have an injunction for this year. We still might win that case, and I still think we should win that case. But his bill would put that issue to rest, and it's a good bill.
All right. You can catch him again tonight. This is Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. He's going to be at the Holiday Inn in Tyler, South Broadway, 6 p.m. tonight. Any other thing you'd like to promote while I have you for another minute?
Well, look, it's exciting to me that we have a new president, because that obviously sets a totally different tone for America. The last 4 years, if you think of every issue, whether it's the economy, whether it's the border, whether it's international issues, have been a disaster. Nothing has gone right, and we have an opportunity now for the next 4 years to turn all of that around. So I'm excited.
Thank you very much, Attorney General Ken Paxton on the James Show again. I appreciate your time, sir.
Sure. Have a great day.
And he's going to be in doing a couple stops in Houston tomorrow. He did Fort Worth at noon today, Tyler at 6 o'clock tonight, and then there's one in like Oleander and the Woodlands tomorrow. So if you're further in the southeast part of the WBAP broadcast area, that may be of interest to you. But I don't know. You're kind of stretching our big stick a little, about as far as it can go. All right, coming up next on the James Show, we got to go through some of this audio from Capitol Hill today. I think you would enjoy hearing Kamala Harris certify the election results where she lost. Yeah, we'll do a little victory dance and enjoy ourselves. Coming up in about 4 minutes on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. There was a civics lesson that happened today. You know, January 6th has kind of taken on a meaning of its own, but really it's just a, I don't know, perfunctory day. It's a ceremonial day where the electors get together, and we already know who won. We knew what the results were going to be the night of the election. That's fine. You still have to officially have all the electors get together and officially cast their votes, and then it has to officially be counted. And then they get a chance to do this goofy ceremony where the senators or some proxy from each state comes up and they get to read their votes. And I tell you, when people say that, they don't like biased news or they don't like mixing news with entertainment, yeah, you do. Because if you didn't, it would all look like C-SPAN. And you don't like C-SPAN. I've seen the ratings.
President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of Oregon seems to be regular in form and authentic. And it appears therefrom that Kamala D. Harris of the state of California received 8 votes for president, and Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota received 8 votes for vice president.
Hey, all you people who say you want unvarnished, unentertainment, unfluffed up news, you want to do this for 40 minutes?
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania seems to be regular in form and authentic. And it appears therefrom that Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida received 19 votes for president, and J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received 19 votes for vice president.
And then we have to wait like 10 seconds for everyone to get done cheering. Boring as hell, isn't it? But this is how things happen. This is actually one of the greatest features of the American system is the peaceful transfer of power. Man, when you read through history, it doesn't matter if it's Roman Empire or medieval England or what was going on in almost every arena. The thing that tears countries apart and destroys more wealth and ruins more lives and prosperity is people getting into civil wars because there's not a peaceful transfer of power, because the guy who was in power for so long finally died, and then his kids fight over it, or the lords fight over it, or God forbid he doesn't have a son. And so this is a very important part of our civic society, but good Lord, it's boring. Let me go ahead and skip to the Texas part. And wouldn't you know it, C-SPAN skipped when I was recording the Texas part. So you'll hear some gaps in there, but that's not me. That's
Madam President, the certificate of the electoral vote of the state of Texas seems to be regular in form and authentic, and it appears therefrom that Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida received 40 votes for president, and J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio received 40 votes for vice president.
Yeah, I had the guns. They weren't really shooting AKs in the halls of Congress. So it happened today, and I think a lot of people got a little bit of enjoyment because the person who has to oversee the official counting of the electors is the president of the Senate, not the majority leader, not the whip, the president. Who's the president of the Senate? Oh, right, the vice president, which means Kamala Harris had to count all of her losing votes and then certify it in front of God and everybody.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris.
I added the gunshot that wasn't in there. Well, they're really cheering in front of her face there, aren't they? Oh, they had to gavel him. Hush. Yeah, so they cheered. And don't worry, when she said Kamala Harris got whatever fewer votes, they cheered for her too. But I think a lot of people are really getting a deep sense of appreciation out of that. Like when people pretend like they really get the fine wine when you go to the wine tasting, they're like, just let it drift over all of your tongue, and then do like an inhale, like that, and then you stick your nose way in the glass and don't you appreciate that? Can't you really enjoy like the complex aromas, the sort of buttery finishes, the floral notes? I think that's how a big chunk of America felt about listening to that. Can you just tell me the vote counts?
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris.
Wait. Don't finish counting. We're not done cheering yet. Woo! That would be funny if they really could squeeze off rounds like they did in Idiocracy. President Camacho's up there. The other audio that I think you would really relish in that you haven't heard yet because it's from the Golden Globes. The Golden Globes were last night. Did you know? No, I didn't either. I mean, Hollywood's pretty irrelevant, but I do appreciate when the host is Nikki Glazer because Nikki Glazer has made her bones in the comedy world by absolutely destroying people in roast. You know, the comedy roast of Justin Bieber, roast of Tom Brady, roast of Martha Stewart. Nikki Glazer, that is her bag. So when she comes in, she's going to have to roast the Golden Globes audience. And wait a second, that sounds like something you would be interested in. So I got a couple of the roasts. I'll play them for you here just because I know you're not going to go back and watch the Golden Globes. Like, oh, darn, I missed the Golden Globes. Says nobody. But here's Nikki Glazer last night.
Now, some of you may know me as a stand-up comedian and from my appearances on Roast, but I am not here to roast you tonight. I want you to know that. And how could I, really? You're all so famous, so talented, so powerful. I mean, you could really do anything. I mean, except tell the country who to vote for. But it's okay. You'll get them next time, if there is one.
And then the other nice little roasty moment I think you'd like.
And Challengers Girl, oh my God, it was so good. I mean, that movie was more sexually charged than Diddy's credit card. I mean, seriously. Oh, no, I know, I'm sorry. I'm upset too. The after party's not going to be as good this year, but we have to move on. I know Stanley Tucci Freak Off just doesn't have the same ring to it, but no baby oil this year, just lots of olive oil, okay?
Stanley Tucci joke. Can we go back to Let Me Gloat? Can we hear the other one real quick? One more time. Just it makes me so happy.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris.
Why don't you gavel him? I want to hear that gavel. There it is. I just need to get gavelled every once in a while. All right. Coming up next, we have the December jobs report that's coming out at the end of the week on Friday. What can you expect from them? We'll talk to Mark Hamrick from Bankrate coming up on the James Show. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. Clap your hands, even if they're muffled with gloves. You know, while we're paying a lot of attention to the terror attacks and politics and whatnot, the economy's still chugging along. Mark Hamrick from Bankrate is joining the James Show. We have a jobs report coming out on Friday, and this will be the last one before Donald Trump is sworn in. How much of this jobs report is going to be sort of like the baseline by which we measure this entire next 4 years?
Well, I wouldn't say that you measure it because of 1 month's numbers, James. And the reality is that this data is collected around the 12th of the month. So we'll actually have one more jobs report that would cover the time while the Biden administration is in office. I think, you know, if you're a historian or a statistician or an economist, you look at the totality of the data to the degree that you can do that over the course of a presidential term, and that obviously is 4 years. And there was a lot going on over these past 4 years, and so I think you would say that the economy performed thusly from the time that President Biden took office to the time when President Trump takes the oath of office as well.
What are we expecting in this jobs report on Friday?
It's expected to be a pretty, I would say, normal-looking jobs report to the degree that if we get what is expected, we see about 160,000 jobs added during the month. That is in the context of about 6 million total people being hired. The unemployment rate's expected to be about 4.2%. And that is below the long-term average of about 4.7% over the past decade. So if you hear Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell talking about the way that he believes the economy is performing, you would say that the job market is still relatively firm, but it has cooled quite a bit from the time when we had an unemployment rate that was at 3.5%, now in the low 4% range.
How do you think the results of this report on Friday will affect the Federal Reserve's rate cuts going forward?
That's a good question. Obviously, it will depend on what the report looks like. If we get a report that is largely as expected, then the Fed will keep in mind that it has a legally prescribed dual mandate, essentially its mission, to balance stable prices and maximum employment. And so that unemployment has risen from 3.5%. They would say that the job market is close to maximum employment, but not at it any longer. And I do think that they may be concerned that inflation is going to continue to be stickier than has been hoped. And they may think that the job market is holding up relatively well. The next policy setting announcement from the Fed is due on January 29th. And after cutting interest rates at the December meeting, the central bank is not expected to change rates at this January meeting. They had previously indicated there might be something like 3 interest rate cuts during 2025. That's a very difficult thing to predict over the course of 12 months. But that suggests that they have some patience. They think they can essentially let their benchmark rate continue to do its work, which is still regarded as restrictive, meaning they still have their foot on the brake of the economy, hoping to continue to bring the rate of inflation down.
Well, I hear different surveys pointing toward optimism, consumer optimism, small business optimism, things like that. How much of this is already baked in the cake, though? So even if we do get a good report, if everyone was already expecting it, a lot of times we don't get much of a boost from that because they say it was already baked in. Do we have a lot of optimism already baked in right now, Mark?
Well, I would say that the stock market, if that's one thing we're talking about, is probably to some degree very much prime for the upcoming earnings season, and that earnings have in recent times tended to surpass expectations. That's a high bar to continue to generate, but economic growth, broadly speaking, at least in the United States, has continued to be above par. In other words, above average. The problem is really the rest of the world in some ways where the global economy is not performing terribly well. China, Japan, Germany at the top of the list there. And so, we operate within the context of a global economy, and many of our companies are dependent on, at least normal performance on the part of those national economies and regional economies around the world. And obviously, as the new president takes office, and hearing it in the newscast that preceded us, there's a lot of uncertainty associated with what the president-elect plans to do. And the impacts of all of that, of course, are yet to be seen. And so uncertainty is not something that is a favorable thing either for financial markets or operators of business or consumers. To your earliest part of the question about how people view the economy, our bank rate surveys of Americans, as well as another survey that is very closely followed, generated by the University of Michigan on consumer sentiment or consumer attitudes, finds that the way people view the economy, and as I said, the bank rate surveys have indicated this as well, is very much aligned or misaligned with one's political identification. And so if one is a fan of the incoming administration, the optimism tends to be higher. And if one is not a fan of the incoming administration, those consumers may possess less optimism. And I doubt that trend will change, at least in the very near term.
Well, it shouldn't be that stark of a difference because we're all looking at the same data, but you can tell people's biases really shows up sometimes. We are a few years away from the last recession, which means we're a few years closer to the next recession. Do you think it'll happen in 2025, Mark?
It's a good question. It's a survey question for all of the economists that we engage in our quarterly survey. And I can give you a bit of a preview of the one that will be published later this week. And that is the question we ask, what is the percentage risk of a recession over the next year or so? And that risk is still seen as being rather low. I would say it's slightly elevated relative to history, but low relative to the last 3 years. And so we had seen those risks put at about 50-50 at one point when the Federal Reserve was really, raising interest rates sharply and really trying to get inflation down. And right now, I would say that the consensus among the economists is that those risks are about 1 in 3 over the next 12 months. The reality, though, James, if we think about what caused the last 2 recessions that were quite doozies, one was the great financial crisis, with the unemployment rate peaking in October 2009. And then, of course, the one that was associated with COVID. Those were remarkably horrific recessions, even though the last one lasted only about 2 months. But it resulted in historically high unemployment, closer to depression levels for just a short amount of time. And so why do I mention that? Very often it can be that external events that we don't foresee can cause an economic downturn. My hope would be that when the next recession occurs, whenever it occurs, it's more of a so-called garden variety recession and not one of these that ends up, requiring a new chapter in the history books.
Mark Hamrick, what does Bankrate do besides all these great surveys that we cite on WBAP so often?
Oh, thank you for asking. Well, we've been around since 1976, and the main thing is, as the name implies, we monitor interest rates of all kinds all across the country. And so at our free website, bankrate.com, people who are in the market for or just curious about a rate for savings or for borrowing for credit cards, you can do a search. And we also have all kinds of very neat calculators to help people achieve their financial goals, and lots of great content as well, thanks to my colleagues.
There he is. Mark, thank you very much. This is Mark Hamrick from Bankrate.com. Appreciate your economic insight on the James Show. Appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Happy New Year. All right, coming up next, a less fun story. A local woman was kidnapped and robbed by an illegal immigrant. And, of course, is there any doubt open borders have been bad for crime rates around here? But horrifying details coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I'm not going to name any names here because I already got enough enemies in this town. But there's a horrible story that happened on Christmas Eve here locally. A woman, one of our neighbors over in Haltom City, so I'm not like stretching, this has happened in the suburb of Seattle. No, this happened in her backyard. She was kidnapped at gunpoint on Christmas Eve. She was in the parking lot of an apartment complex. I guess it was her apartment complex. They don't tell you. But some guy shows up. I guess she was going to go to work like super early. A lot of people do. But he sees her in the parking lot, comes up to her with a gun. He says, come on, we're going to go for a ride. And so he's talking to her with his face covered. He pointed a gun at her head, said, give me your bag, give me your phone. Now let's go to your bank and let's withdraw all your money. And he's sitting there threatening her the whole time. And he's saying horrible things to her. He's saying he's going to rape her. He's saying he's going to human traffic her. He says he's planning on selling her organs. So I don't know what this guy's problem is. I'm trying to horrify this woman as much as possible. I got it. And then when she went to the ATM, got out a bunch of money, gave it to him, he said, get out the car, and he takes off. The next day, on Christmas Day, they find this guy. He's in Oklahoma City. He's in the woman's car that he stole the day before, and cops arrest him. He's a 35-year-old illegal immigrant from Honduras. In the headline of the story, this is what the headline says. Woman allegedly kidnapped at gunpoint, tied to tree on Christmas Eve, shares story. No mention that it's an illegal immigrant. No mention that it's an immigrant. No mention of the race of the guy involved. And again, if these were circumstances that fit the narrative a little better, you'd know it would be in there. But here we are. These dishonest hacks. If you're listening and you're the one who wrote that article, wrote that headline, I'm talking about you. Stop it. It's embarrassing. It's dishonest. It's a little bit racist. I mean, it's a more benevolent form of racism. Like you Democrats have got better. At least y'all stopped with the Klan and lynching people. This form of racism, again, I mean, I think you think you're doing the right thing, but it's really ugly and it's really disgusting. And it's really divisive, and you should know better by now. But you know that when George Floyd, that story happened, it was constantly beat into the public consciousness that it was a white cop that caused the death of a black guy. Same thing with Michael Brown. It was constantly in there. A white guy caused the death of a black guy. Trayvon Martin, a white guy caused the death of a black guy. But no, demographics don't matter if it doesn't fit the narrative. Demographics only matter if it makes America look bad, white people look bad, perceived Republicans to look bad, natives to look bad. And here, it's not anywhere in there. In fact, they don't even mention the fact that he's an illegal immigrant, except for way down in like paragraph 28. The wording on this is just painfully gymnastic. Police say the suspect was in the country illegally from Honduras and has been referred to immigration officials. That's as close as they get to calling him an illegal immigrant or an immigrant of any kind. That's wild, isn't it? Immigration, one of the biggest hot button issues on the planet right now. We could have ourselves another Laken Riley. Nope, they don't want another one of those. They can't have another one of those. They just got to report this, make sure it doesn't get picked up by any media outlets, make sure some big right-wing blogger or dark web, intellectual dark webber doesn't see this and it just blows over the next day and they can go get along with making you hate white people and Republicans and people with MAGA hats. The reporting on this is so disgusting, though. People, stop. Can y'all not be such dishonest hacks? And the reason they do this is so when you're scanning the news, you don't go, wow, another crime by an illegal immigrant. Oh, my goodness, another dangerous event happen at the hands of an illegal immigrant. And then you read the next story. Tom Homan, incoming border czar, has doubled down on his plans to deport families of mixed immigration status. If you were getting the real news for the 4 or 5 stories you read before that, you may think, oh, well, that sounds like a good idea. But if they soft pedal it, you have no idea the immigration status of all these horrible crimes that have been going on. And just the 5 stories you read before this one, you might be like, oh, that sounds mean. I don't know. I like to keep families together. We need to stop picking on illegal immigrants so much. We're not picking on them. So stop coddling them. Start treating them like you either use it in everybody's story or don't use it at all. Because I don't remember Derek Chauvin, the guy in the cop in the George Floyd case. He never used an ethnic slur. There's no evidence that race was any factor or played any part in his decision making that day. But race was just inferred onto there because all you had was the mix. So if you infer racism where there's no evidence for it simply because it's mixed race, but you only do it when the interracial crime goes one direction, well, now you're not even concerned about racism. Now you're just an anti-white bigot. Again, it's the benevolent form of racism. And it's kind of my answer to the big switch. When people say, there was a big switch in the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. Yeah, the Republicans are the racist ones now. I know it was the Democrats that did, slavery and the Trail of Tears and Jim Crow and segregation. And they were against women's suffrage and internment camps in World War II and putting a Klansman on in the Supreme Court. And hell, having Robert Byrd in the Senate as the Democrat until the day he died in 2009 or whenever that was. No, but at some point they switched. No, they didn't. Democrats never stopped being racist. It's just a more evolved, less violent form. Still pernicious, still ugly, but it's not like Republicans looked at Democrats. Oh, y'all aren't racist anymore? Let's pick up that mantle and run with it. No, here it is. Here it is. You can see it. It leaks out. It oozes through. Even the bad reporting that comes from some of our local media outlets. Too bad this isn't going to be a national story. You know it deserves to be. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. They will even cover for criminals on Christmas. They'll cover for them if it fits the narrative. Pretty sick stuff. Coming up next, we're going to talk to a guy I'm a fan of, Jerry J-Man Joyner. He's the host of Weed and Whiskey. And a new survey shows that many in Gen Z, the Zoomers, are alcohol free. This seems to be the generation that is drinking the least. What's up with that? You'll hear from Jerry J-Man Joyner next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. A new survey that was cited in Time Magazine shows Gen Z, the Zoomers, are drinking less alcohol than previous generations. As a big fan of alcohol over here, I find that quite disappointing. Guys, come on. Each generation is supposed to do better than the last. And for some people's book, this is an improvement, but it depends. Let's ask someone who is an expert in such situations. Jerry J-Man Joyner, host of Weed and Whiskey.
Smoke weed every day.
Jerry J-Man, are they just partying less, or are they substituting something else for alcohol? I don't know, weed gummies or vapes or something, or are they partying less?
They're not partying less. I think that they're looking for alternatives. Both THC drinks and mocktails are on the rise, while we see alcohol trending down, especially with the younger folks.
Explain mocktails to the newly ordained in this conversation.
Okay, that's where they charge you like a lot of money, just like you was paying for a double Jack Daniels and Coke. Okay, they charge you a lot for that drink that they've infused different herbs and different type of non-alcoholic beverages to create you a cocktail, and they call it a mocktail. So there's no alcohol in it, but you get to pay the same price and tip the same price for that. But you get to be social.
Yes, it mocks whoever gets stuck with the bill, I think is what happens. I find those so disappointing. If you want something that tastes good, get a Dr. Pepper. Don't make someone squeeze mint into a ginger beer or something. Jerry, do you think they'll catch on? Are they just slow adopters? Because one thing I've noticed about the Generation Z is they don't jump right into driving when they're 16. They'll wait till they're 18 or just whenever they get around to it. Are they just slow adopters?
They're not slow adopters. They embrace THC products, cannabis, not as much smoking as we thought they would. They're also looking at these edibles, and they're looking at these drinks. These drinks are coming on really, really strong. Cannabis beverages offer relaxation without the effects of alcohol. No hangover the next day. But you still got to use common sense. You drink too many of those, just like you drink too much alcohol, you can have ramifications that you don't want to deal with.
So what's the status of legal THC in Texas? I was under the impression that there was a quite obvious loophole built into the law, and not a loophole. If it comes from a plant that's below a certain threshold, then it's legal. And I feel like someone's about to change that. Did I see that headline?
Well, you did. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, along with State Senator Charles Perry, want to ban hemp-derived products, but expand the marijuana program.
I don't know what that means.
That means they're going to tax you more for getting the same gummy. You could go to the corner store now and buy, for the most part, a legal, child-protected safety packaging, got a certificate of analysis at 7,000 retailers in Texas. But as soon as they get their way and ban intoxicating hemp, but expand the marijuana program, you can pay $20 for a pack of Bucka Buzz instead of $5. That's really what this all amounts to, in old J-Man's opinion.
How does our handling of the marijuana industry compare to our neighbors like Oklahoma and Louisiana? Are they doing a better job than this?
Well, Oklahoma, virtually everyone has a medical marijuana card. So they don't have an adult use program like we have in 24 other states, Ohio being the most recent state. Last November, they became adult use legal, in 2022. So in 2023, they started being able to sold about $300 million worth in the last 6 months legally to adults. So now Louisiana, it's a little different. It's not throttled down quite as much as we are here in Texas. So you can't buy marijuana in Texas except through the TCUP, the Texas Compassionate Use Program, which is very limited on what you can get and how you can get it and how doctors could prescribe that. But as I mentioned, you could go to 7,000 retailers here in Texas that have a license to sell hemp-derived products and get beverages, get gummies, get pre-rolled joints.
So do you think that's going to change this year?
There's a lot of apprehension for the people in the hemp side. This is an $8 billion industry in Texas that just popped up in a few years. 50,000 people are employed in this. And what my concern is if they ban the hemp products that people are legally buying at stores and paying sales taxes on, people are still going to want this product. They're just going to have to go back to the street dealers. And therein lies why we continue to have street dealers, is because these illegalities in different states and the rules and the regulations makes a quagmire for those guys to still exist and sell it often for a lot less than what you would pay for it legally.
All right, Jay, man, what's coming up on the Weed and Whiskey podcast?
You know, we got a show coming up that, well, with the show we just dropped, I have a new manager. The guy that found Joe Exotic, Tiger King, a guy named JT Barnett, is my new manager, and we're working on a new thing called I Am J-Man going into 2025.
You got the guy from Tiger King? That's awesome. All right,
I got him real high. I got him real high back in my space cave, and all of a sudden he wanted to be my manager, so don't let the word out.
Yeah, just sign here. Everything will be bliss. Where do they find your work outside of WBAP, Jerry?
IamJman.com.
That's it. IamJman.
Hey, one last thing,
Go
real
ahead.
quick. You know, the Surgeon General, the outgoing Surgeon General, just in the start of dry January, said that they should be putting labeling on alcohol that says it causes cancer. Okay? Well, not using common sense causes stupidity. So, you know, we're going to label ourselves to death, it seems like, here in the very near future. But is there a play behind that? You know, is the big alcohol making a big move into marijuana is what J-Man thinks. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.
Oh, man, now I kind of want to ask you about that, but we are out of time. Oh, well, I guess we'll have to have him back on. Because I did see about that warning label thing, but I was just going to ignore it like I do all the other warning labels on alcohol. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Your thoughts, is Generation Z, are they just more responsible than we were or are? Are they healthier, or are they just substituting their party favors of choice? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'll tell you what I think next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yeah, I'm a pretty good radio host, not a very good role model. I'm a big fan of drinking, so I hope this isn't influencing your kids in the back seat, but I am an adult and we can talk about adult things. 47 years old, I'm more than welcome to have beer whenever I feel like it. Well, unless I'm behind the wheel of a car, obvious exceptions. But I'm a little concerned here when I see this survey that's cited by Time Magazine. Why Gen Z is drinking less. Now, I don't trust their answers on this. I do appreciate reading through it and sparking a wider conversation here because alcohol consumption in the United States has risen overall. It's kind of risen most of your entire life up until this last generation, Generation Z. Now, that's defined as anyone born between 97 and 2012. You're Gen Z? Oh, you were born in 97, so you're like the first Gen Zer? All right. Do you drink? Garrett says he drinks occasionally. You don't have any drinking stories, though. You don't come in here like, how was your weekend? It's like, oh, man, I woke up behind some warehouse over by South Lamar. No, you don't have any of those stories. I don't think you're a real drinker. What, dude, you're in your 20s. You're supposed to come in every once in a while wearing the same thing you were wearing yesterday, smelling suspicious. No, your generation's letting us down. And look, I want you to be healthy, and I don't want you to be some homeless wino and destroy your life with alcohol. But there's almost I don't want to say a rite of passage either. There's a certain maturity that comes with it. It almost feels like this arrested development, this eternal adolescenthood that so many people try to stay in. They don't want to get married, they don't want to have kids, they don't want to get a real job, they don't want to wear a suit and tie. They want to remain kids their entire life. They want you to pay for their college loans. They want you to pay for their health care. So I think part of it is this generation is just a little slower to mature. And that doesn't really bother me. We have to adjust our expectations. Because if they are late adopters, then this is something that will settle itself out, in just a few years. One of my suspicions, and I was just having the discussion with J-Man in the previous segment, is are they substituting other party favors over alcohol now? Weed's more abundant, and I don't mean the actual plant, but whether you vape it or have a gummy or a lollipop or whatever else they're doing, eye drops, what else are they doing with that? Surprised we don't do more stuff with vapes. Like, couldn't you do like a vitamin B supplement, or couldn't you do like a hangover cure in a vape? There's $1 million idea. You're welcome. But I also look at this Gen Z, and here's what I don't see in Gen Z. And my oldest kid is 14. I have nieces and nephews that are Gen Zers. So I have a little bit of observation with this. Almost none of them smoke. And I mean, I can't even think if I've been at like a concert and seen like a Gen Zer smoking, but none of the Gen Zers that I know, none of them smoke cigarettes. Whatever happened to cigarettes? That's going to be gone. It's amazing. It's amazing how pro-smoking the world was when you were born. You could smoke on an airplane. You could smoke like when you got in your grandma's Crown Vic in the 1980s. Not only did it have an ashtray, the back seats had an ashtray. You had an ashtray in the handles of the back seats. I thought that was hilarious. I mean, I know you could just ash out the window, but you got to put your butt somewhere. Really, can't just toss it out the window, can't pass it up. Everyone has to have their own personal ashtray in the car. That's how addicted my parents and the previous generations were to cigarettes. Now you can't hardly see cigarettes disappearing over the horizon. Now, if you go into a bar where they're actually smoking, it catches you off guard. You're like, whoa, what is this? 2001? This is crazy. But let's be positive here. We like to kick the next generation. Oh, they're dumb. Look, maybe they're not. Maybe this generation is just healthier. Maybe they've read about all the negative consequences that are attached to alcohol. Maybe it's not even like good health, like, oh, I want to live a long time and I don't want to destroy my liver. Maybe it's more like a weight gain thing. Maybe it's more based out of vanity, because that's where most of my healthy habits come from. Not that I'm really concerned about the elasticity of my aorta, but because I want to look as least disgusting as possible for Miss Parker.
Hi, Miss Parker.
So maybe it is about weight gain or some other general health thing. But not even mentioned in the Time article here was the fact that maybe it's a religion thing, like a religious. And I'm not saying like kids these days are more religious or more likely to be overtly Christian than previous generations. Just maybe the few that are a little more hardcore about it. I don't know. Experts that are cited in this article in Time, they don't have one answer either. You know, they say, well, some of this may be the changing laws, because for most of us, you couldn't drink until you were 21. I bought my first legal beer at 18 because when I turned 18, it was still legal in Louisiana, and I'm from East Texas, so it's only like an hour and a half to Shreveport. And I actually drove out there when I was 18, walked into a bar, bought a beer, and the world was fine. There was no black hole that opened up and swallowed the planet. I didn't hit 28 people or a family of 4 on the way home. We've had the stigma that's attached to alcohol just slowly inching up as well. And some of the experts were saying alcohol's social reputation has changed. Okay, let's think about that. When you watch Mad Men, you saw Don Draper and Sterling Cooper, Draper Price, all those other guys. They were drinking at work. They had a little bottle of bourbon there. They would pour a little inch. They would drink it without even making a face or coughing or anything, just like real men, look like they're drinking apple juice. Was that normal? I wasn't here in 1961 when Mad Men was set. I have to assume it's true. They're smoking in the office. They're drinking bourbon in the office. Probably having an affair with their secretary in the office. Is that what they talk about when they say make America great again? I'd like to be able to have some scotch while I'm at work. I think that means some people might mean it that way. So yeah, Gen Z. Maybe they are just a bunch of party poopers. Guys, I hold out hope that you can grow up, because my thoughts on alcohol, most people try and discourage it. You should be better. Not me. I'm pro alcohol, and I've taken the Bert Kreischer vow to never quit.
Never quit drinking. I will never quit drinking. I will always make sure that I can keep my body healthy enough so that I can always drink. I love seeing a sunrise with a cocktail, seeing a sunset with a cocktail, having friends walk into your house with a bottle of wine, getting on a plane. Can I get you something? Double Jack on the rocks, lots of rocks. I love the moment someone says, hey, we should get a drink, and you're not supposed to. That feeling, it's like a first kiss. You don't get that first kisses when you're married. You get to have those first drinks. At a brunch, someone goes, should we do mimosas? And then the waiter goes, actually, we have bottomless mimosas. And you're like, this is going to be the best day ever.
All right, coming up next, the forecast for snow. The rare snowfall has moved up. Find out when we're expecting it here in DFW in about 7 minutes. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yeah, I know. Good to see you, too. All right, so the number one news that you see on TV is not necessarily the same as the number one news story here in the Dallas area. Nationally, you turn it on, I'm seeing a lot of Trump's agenda. I'm seeing Kamala Harris certifying some votes. I'm seeing some movement on the investigations that happened with the terror attacks, both in New Orleans and Las Vegas. But around here, it's such a rare occurrence that anytime it happens, it's got to be news. We may actually get snow in DFW. Daniel Huckabee's on with us from the National Weather Service. Thanks for being on the James Show. When are we expecting possible snow to start falling, Daniel?
It looks like for the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, it's going to be Wednesday night into Thursday that we initially see that snowfall. And thankfully for the Metroplex, it doesn't look like we'll see much of in the way of sleet or freezing rain. So mostly a snow event, which makes for a bit easier driving conditions. But if we have 3 to 5 inches over the course of the day, Thursday into Thursday night, it's going to get pretty treacherous out there.
So is it going to stick?
Absolutely. We're already cold, as you know, and
right.
The clouds will be coming in tonight, and we're not going to warm up much. In fact, as soon as that snow starts falling, we'll stay at or below freezing, and that snow is going to really effectively accumulate.
Okay, so snow's not the scary one. It's the sleet that really ruins the bridges. And, well, when I say I slid on a bridge once, and that's really my only bad driving experience in the cold weather. Are the bridges going to freeze?
Well, the road surfaces are already quite cold. We were down in the 20s this morning, and we'll stay in the 20s and 30s over the next few days. So those surfaces are going to start out pretty cold. A lot of times when we have wintry weather, it comes after a period of pretty warm weather. But this will be the kind of situation where those, particularly the bridges and overpasses, they're going to start accumulating snow pretty quick. And we may have a mess as early as the Thursday morning commute.
Okay, so if it does stick, how long until it goes away?
Well, the event, the snow falling will taper off late Thursday night, maybe into early Friday morning. But when you have that much snow on the ground, it's hard for the temperatures to warm up, and it looks like the sun's not going to come out on Friday. So unfortunately, the treacherous driving conditions will continue on Friday, and that snow may stick around into the upcoming weekend.
Do you already have a sense of what's happening next week? Could we possibly get hit with another one fairly soon?
You know, there's another storm system on the horizon there. We're trying to focus on this one right away, but unfortunately, it looks like we're starting out with a pretty cold and wintry January.
I'm not a big fan of the wind chill. Not that I don't acknowledge that wind makes cold weather even worse. I just feel like the term feels like shouldn't it be in something as scientific as meteorology?
Well, the wind chill is actually a pretty scientific thing. Essentially what happens is when you're out in the cold, your skin warms a little layer of air adjacent to it that protects you. But when the wind blows, it blows that away. And so when it's windy like it's been the last couple of days, it makes it feel much colder because you lose that protective barrier. So what we try to do is estimate what that feels like based on how strong the wind is, how effective that is in removing that warm air away from your body. But yeah, it definitely has an effect on how it feels with the wind blowing.
Well, Daniel, I think you would have a great case to make if we were all running around in the nude, but I have clothes on. I keep that little layer of air around me for the most part. No, I understand what you're saying there.
You can feel it on your face, though, for sure.
Oh, that very true, very true. So now that 2024 is in the history books and you've had sort of a week to digest it, do y'all check on that? As a guy who is steeped in weather for a living, was that an above average year for like rain or heat or cold? Like, what's your thoughts on 2024?
Well, the main thing for 2024 is that it tied for our warmest year on record, which is easier to do here in Dallas-Fort Worth with the heat island. We tend to stay warmer at night, which makes it easier to break some of those
those records from long ago. But yeah, we ended up tying 2017 as being the warmest year on record. And it wasn't a really hot summer. People may not remember it as being really warm, but we had a warm spring, we had a warm fall, warmest October on record. Only one freeze at DFW during December. So overall, it was a pretty warm year.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Were we above average or below average on rain?
For rainfall, we were above average. I forget the exact total offhand, but
it wasn't so much that you remembered it. It was about average, I imagine.
Yeah, it was pretty close to where we would be.
Well, what do you think is going to happen this winter? You think we're going to have a below average or above average winter?
Well, for the next couple of weeks, it certainly looks below average, but overall, it looks like we'll be a little bit warmer and a little bit drier than normal. But the thing about winter here in North Texas is it's highly variable, and we've never had a winter in going back to the 1800s without any snowfall, even if it's just a little bit. So we do get those Arctic outbreaks, even if it's a warm winter overall.
All right, Daniel Huckabee, National Weather Service. Thanks for keeping us updated on the weather.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. There he is, Daniel Huckabee, National Weather Service. Had him calling all the way from, Fort Worth? I know. They got a big one there. All right, 800-288-9227 if you have any cold weather tips for the rest of us. Because I just don't bother with any of the cold weather stuff. I don't do snow tires. I don't winterize my car. I'm not even sure what that means. I just tough it out and put on an extra pair of socks. 800-288-9227 if you got any comments on the weather situation. Coming up next, though, federal courts are not going to refer Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice, to the Attorney General over ethics concerns. Now, I think this is potentially could be a huge story because what this is really all about is Congress is trying to find an end around to gain power over the Supreme Court. I'll explain that in 4 minutes on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. So we have a story here that this is a headline that you probably read and then you don't click through to get the rest of the story because the headline doesn't sound that interesting. Doesn't sound like it's that convincing. Doesn't really even sound like it's that important. This is one of those that if this goes the way it should go, it'll just be forgotten a week from now, never to return again. However, if this court case goes the wrong way, this could upset the apple cart of our republic, never to recover again. This is kind of a huge story, but only if it goes the wrong way. Now, let me just read the headline for you, and I bet you get this. I bet you understand this. Federal courts won't refer Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas to Attorney General over ethics. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, because Thursday, just 4 days ago, they decided that Judge Clarence Thomas has agreed to follow updated requirements on reporting trips and gifts. So what's going on here? Well, someone is trying to upset the constitutional checks and balances between the three branches of government. And Congress, the legislative branch, is trying to get an upper hand on the judicial branch, the Supreme Court. Now, one of the problems that they see with the Supreme Court is once you're in there for life. And if we get a couple of bad justices in there, if we have a couple of Republican presidents that get to make some picks, we're stuck with these guys for life. And they don't like that. They want to be able to undo that. Well, the Founding Fathers didn't agree with that. The Founding Fathers specifically had these guys in these three branches with different levels of accountability to different groups for this exact reason. Now, Congress itself is supposed to be split into the People's House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate, which is supposed to be the state's house. But now we had the 17th Amendment that said the senators will not be selected by the legislatures of the states anymore, and they'll be popularly elected by the constituents of the states themselves. Big mistake there. So now we have two people's houses, just with different ratios of representation. So they kind of screwed that up already. So we already have a mismatch here. And if we've learned anything from Kay Granger being in an assisted living facility since July, and no one even knew about it until a couple weeks ago. She got to keep her job, and no one even noticed the difference in her abilities, or there was no complaints about her missing all these votes. The real calcification of power happens in Congress. If you're an incumbent, it's really hard to get knocked off of your pedestal. And so that's a really powerful seat to be in. It used to be that you were checked because something couldn't even get out of your branch of government unless it went through the Senate, which was what? The states controlled that. So the states have already lost a whole lot of power to Congress. Congress has actually conversely given up some of their power to the executive branch, the bureaucrats. They don't go in and they don't vote on all these regulations that determine how you're allowed to do business. They gave the EPA and OSHA these broad swaths of power, and then the bureaucrats actually write in the details on what the law is going to be. So they've gotten rid of some of the powers that they're supposed to use that could make them unpopular with constituents or donors or corporate interests. And so now they're trying to trade that and gather more power by subjugating the Supreme Court. Now, the whole part about the Supreme Court justices being able to get gifts and trips, that may seem distasteful, but how is it distasteful if they don't have to win an election, if they don't have to raise money, if they don't need that money, if they don't want that money, if their job isn't dependent on them getting money like it is for members of Congress or even the president? Then that just means maybe there's just rich people out there who think it's cool to hang out with the Supreme Court justice. Maybe they're fans. Maybe they just want to show their appreciation. Maybe they just want to go out to dinner with one. And, if you lavish gifts upon them, it doesn't matter. There's no recourse for a Supreme Court justice. Now, if you change that, now the gifts are buying influence. Now the gifts are the Supreme Court justices doing what Biden did and is selling access. But make no mistake about it. When they say, well, we just want to look into something, or we just want to study it, or we just want to have some ethics, or we just want to have some rules of the road, or some basic common sense regulation, that is merely an excuse to devise a system by which Congress can eject Supreme Court officials. And if you think they're going to do this based on whether or not they got some improper gifts and not politics, then you're incredibly naive. You're too naive to be listening to this show, that's for sure. But has there ever been any concern here? Because, I mean, this story showed up from, I saw it on WFAA.com, but it's an AP story. Has AP never been concerned about the gifts and the trips and the vacations that Ruth Bader Ginsburg took, or any Democrat Team Blue justice? If this has only become an issue now in the 248th year of the country, now that we have a solid conservative majority in the Supreme Court, then methinks you're not really concerned about the gifts. This is just an excuse for you to try and replace some justices you don't like with ones that you do. That's disgusting. And that will make the Supreme Court nothing more than just regular old politicians. They will have to play by the same rules that other politicians have to play by over in Congress. And look how corrupt they are over there. Look how much they rely, and you admit they rely on lobbyists. The lobbyists own them. The corporations have bought and controlled and paid for all these congressmen. Well, do you want them to buy and pay for the Supreme Court too? Of course not. So why do some people say that they support this? Because they don't like Clarence Thomas. Because they don't like the fact that the Supreme Court is actually making better decisions. Not from their point of view. But they can't win. Their ideas can't win based on their merits alone. They can't go to the American public, propose a bill, say, this is what's in it. Now, don't you support it? They have to lie to you. They have to tell you the Inflation Reduction Act is going to do something about inflation when it's really just a green energy spending bill. They have to tell you the Affordable Care Act will make your health care more affordable when it's made it more expensive. They have to tell you, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. They're always lying to you. They're lying to you about this too. They're not really concerned about whether or not Clarence Thomas is being unduly affected by the gifts and vacations that he's receiving from his Republican benefactors. They're concerned about Clarence Thomas is going to vote in a way that does not fit the narrative. And look at how much they've been able to accomplish through the Supreme Court. Like gay marriage, they didn't go to the state legislature of all 50 states and have representatives from the people propose a bill and a majority of them voted in and do it the right way. Now, just with the wave of a wand, just with one decision, they in all 50 states got to rewrite marriage laws the way they want to. Whether they were right or wrong, it was an amazing power. It superseded the will of the people in all 50 states. Same thing that happened with abortion. They never got the law passed that made abortion legal. What did they have? They had Roe v. Wade. They just waved a wand and superseded the legislatures of all 50 states and the people's representatives who went and made the laws in accordance with their constituents' wishes. They just were able to overturn all that. And so you see the power of the Supreme Court, especially if it can be abused. That's the point of this. That's the point of them going after Clarence Thomas. That's the point of them trying to seed doubt into the minds of the American public about how, oh, this is wrong. They shouldn't be able to just take gifts and trips and cash and whatever. Yeah, they should. That's not a flaw. That's a feature. That means they're not beholden to these people because they have lifetime appointments, because they don't have to worry about someone kicking them out. They don't have to worry about voters kicking them out. They don't have to worry about raising money so they can buy ads, so they can have an election team, so they can have ballot measures and petitions signed and paperwork filled out. That's a feature, not a flaw. And the only reason this gets so far to even be in the Associated Press article betrays a huge ignorance of the Constitution that is born not only by the people pushing this, but the people in the media that are repeating it like it's normal. There's no need for an investigation into undisclosed acceptance of luxury trips for Supreme Court justices. This is a thinly veiled attempt to override the checks and balances in the Constitution Make no mistake. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we're going to be playing Dead or Alive for 2 tickets to see Chicago on March 19th at WinStar World Casino. The special edition of Dead or Alive today, lead singers. I'm going to give you 10 lead singers. You tell me if they're dead or alive next for Chicago tickets. If you want to play, you can go ahead and call in the James Show now, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Dead or Alive next on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. You're just in time for our big game show, Dead or Alive. We're playing, got some great tickets today. Chicago, coming to Lucas Oil Live. It's in WinStar World Casino and Resort. They'll be here March 29th. Tickets now at winstar.com, but I'm trying to give away a pair right now on Dead or Alive. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. This is the game show where I am going to list off 10 celebrities. You have to tell me if they're dead or alive. In today's special edition of Dead or Alive, all of today's contestants are lead singers. Well, I mean, some of them were lead singers, but we're about to find out which is which. We're going to start off today with Lisa in Dallas. You ready for Dead or Alive, Lisa?
Yes.
Are you a Chicago fan?
Yes.
Oh, well then, good. Let's get it started. Good luck, Lisa. We're going to start number one with an easy one.
Okay.
Lead singer of the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, dead or alive?
Alive.
Yeah, probably going to go on another tour. Lead singer of the 90s band Alice in Chains, his name's Lane Staley. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
He is dead. Lead singer of Soundgarden, Chris Cornell, dead or alive?
Alive.
No, Monty's doing really good on this game through the window, though. Lisa, don't hang up. We'll see if it cycles back around to you. We're going to have to get some real big goof ups, though. Max in DeSoto, you ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're down to the lead singer of Twisted Sister, Dee Snider, dead or alive?
Alive.
It's alive. He is 69 years old today. Nice. Lead singer of Motley Crue, his name is Vince Neil, dead or alive?
Alive.
Alive. Monty, remind me to tell my Vince Neil story after the segment here. The lead singer of Van Halen, the real one, David Lee Roth, dead or alive?
Dead.
Damn it. I'm trying to give you tickets here. No, he's alive. Sammy Hagar's still alive too, isn't he? Making tequila. Jim in Mesquite, you ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, sir.
All right. The 90s band is Sublime. Their lead singer, Bradley Nowell, is he dead or alive?
Dead.
Yeah, died in 96. Lead singer of Blind Melon, Shannon Hoon, is he dead or alive?
Alive.
No, he overdosed in New Orleans in 1995. Tom in Fort Worth. Hey, Tom in Fort Worth, are you ready for Dead or Alive? You only got two left here.
All
right. Smashing Pumpkins lead singer, his name's Billy Corgan, dead or alive?
Billy Corgan is alive. I'm sorry, alive.
Is that your final answer?
The final answer is alive.
I'm going to let you sit for a second. Okay, you're right. And finally, the last one.
I just seen them.
Yeah, right. They were here like a month ago.
Yeah.
The lead singer of the Dallas band legend, Drowning Pool, his name's Dave Williams, dead or alive?
He is alive.
No, he had some sort of weird heart condition. He died in 2002. So guess what? It does go back. Hey, Lisa.
Yes.
We're giving away tickets to see Chicago. The lead singer of Chicago, is he dead or alive?
Alive.
Yeah, whoever it is. I had to give him to you. It circled back around. You didn't stay on hold for nothing. You're the winner.
Yay.
Well, pretend to be excited, Lisa.
That shows my age.
Yeah. You're like, yup, won some tickets. That's what I do.
Yay.
All right, Lisa in Dallas, I'm going to put you on hold. Garrett will get you information. She's going to get emailed to her a couple tickets to see Chicago at Lucas Oil Live inside WinStar World Casino and Resort, March 29th. For the rest of us plebeian losers, we have to go to winstar.com. Winstar.com. Oh, yeah, my Vince Neil story. We got to go way back in time here. I had just started in radio here in Dallas. It's like 2002. I think this was 2003, actually. And we're going to have a big Christmas party. And this was back when radio made a lot of money, so we could get a ballroom at a big hotel and have like a band play. Who's playing? Vince Neil's playing. Vince Neil's playing our Christmas party. Damn, that's awesome. So Vince Neil's going to come in town. He's going to hang out with us. He's going to be on our show. And we're going to get to party with him. This is going to be awesome. Oh, my God. You know how awesome it's going to be to party with Vince Neil? I'm like 26 years old, so I think I'm about to have the time of my life. Turns out Vince Neil is now sober. He's over there drinking a no duels, having some reasonable conversation about some very heady topics. I mean, he's really into news and geopolitics and We actually got to bed before midnight and got to bed at a decent hour. That was my party night with Vince Neil. I missed it by about 7 years. Is where I missed the fun part. So yeah, my Vince Neil story is terrible. Not that he did anything wrong. It's actually that he was a great guy. It's just doesn't make for a very good story now, does it? All right, coming up next, we have a couple of weird crimes here in Dallas. One of them is a giant jewelry heist from a family business in East Dallas. And another one in Northwest Dallas where you had 579 animals killed. The hell's going on with that? Well, it's even weirder than it sounds. Stick around. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Couple of strange, kind of sad stories here in Dallas. I got these both from DallasExpress.com. Although I found the story here about the jewelry heist. I saw that on TV first. I got to give him credit. I just found a little more details here from DallasExpress.com. Over in East Dallas, a $600,000 jewelry heist happened at a family business. And your original reaction to this may be, oh, well, that's terrible. Well, at least they probably have insurance and they'll get to recoup some of that money. No. They told NBC5 here in DFW that they do not have insurance and they have a total loss on all the jewelry that was stolen. Whoa. So this is a family business. This business was started by the mom years ago on a $3,000 loan. And they say after decades of her putting in around 80 hours a week, she has this empire that she's passing along, and now her kids are in the business. And according to our news partner, WFAA, they also confirmed that they're uninsured. So now the family just takes a total loss on that. And I see those robberies that happen. These guys come in, they smash the glass, they grab the jewelry, they run out of there. And secretly, I hope in all of them, someone pulls out a gun and just gets a couple of those bastards. Because there was I think 3 guys were in the video that I saw. It also stinks because it looks a little premeditated. They knew exactly which cases to go through, smash, grab. They didn't go for the safe. They didn't go for the cash register. They didn't ask for any cash. They didn't try and get anything else. They went for a couple of specific cases, cleaned them out, got the hell out of there. Total loss, though. Man, that's heartbreaking stuff. She says she cried the rest of the day. She went home, cried herself to sleep, and then she cried all the next day. This was their family business. You know what a family business is? I mean, a family business is like you're a farmer. You've gone out, you've planted all these crops, you've watered them, you fertilized them, you scared off all the crows, you babied them, you got them through the freezes, you did everything you could, and then someone just comes and burns it down. And this is a family that's ruined. Can your family absorb a loss of $600,000? Yeah, mine can't either. The other strange story, I saw this one. 579 animals killed at a fire at a Northwest Dallas shopping center. Well, what happened? Did a Petco catch on fire? PetSmart? How does 579? Did a chicken plant catch on fire? I don't have a whole lot better info on this one. Last Friday, 11 a.m., Plaza Latina. It's up on Harry Hines Boulevard. Dallas Fire Rescue dispatched 40 to 45 firefighters. When you look at the building, it's a big building. And so I'm trying to figure out, well, what all got killed here? What's going on? How do they have this many animals in a bazaar that's a retail shop, basically? 579 animal fatalities. Let's break it down, though. Number one, only 2 cats died, which is too many, but I'm a cat person, so if we can minimize the damage to cats, I appreciate that. Dog people, you'll be happy to hear only 2 dogs died in this one. So now we are getting into what's going on here. 579. We're only up to 4 animals. They say there was some hamsters, some chickens, but most were small birds. Oh, okay. So what would they have, like a giant aviary that was full of parakeets or something? Because this is the second time in like 2 weeks I've had to come up with parakeet punchlines for this show. But there was a cockfighting ring that was busted outside of Kaufman, and I was joking because the law says you're not allowed to fight chicken or other birds, and so that put a squash on me and Garrett. We had a parakeet fighting ring we had to shut down. So I'd been joking about that just like right before Christmas, and then here we are. What is it, 500 something parakeets must have died? They say there's no exotic animals found on the site at the time of recovery. So what counts as an exotic animal? Does it have to be like a panda bear or a koala or a duck-billed platypus? Y'all got a kangaroo in there? Or do parakeets? It's probably little chirping birds, right? Little finch or whatever. I don't know. What do you bird people collect? I don't really have a whole lot of bird jokes. I used them all on the parakeet fighting ring that me and Garrett had to shoot down. But that's bizarre. That makes me want to go to this business. What are y'all selling? 579 what died? Because you wouldn't be... Look, I know we all love dogs. We all love cats. Some of you even love parakeets, and you're getting a little abrased by how lightly I'm considering the precious souls of our little yellow bird friends. But what if it was snakes? Yeah, I don't understand you people that like snakes as a pet. Oh, look, isn't this a cool pet? No, it scares the hell out of me. I see a snake, I want to hit it with a rock. I want to beat it. Maybe eat it. If it's one of them big fat ones, I've eaten some good snake. But some of you people with your exotic pets, with your lizards, with your snakes, with your tarantulas, I know what you're doing. You're just doing that to be weird. You're just doing that because you like when people go, ooh, how would you do that? You're like, yeah, that's right. I'm not cool. I'm not normal. I'm exotic. I'm mysterious. I'm cool. No, you're not. You have a worthless pet. Probably hates you and wants you dead. But 2 families lost their business last week. Super sad stories when you find out even more details on it. I'm sorry about that, guys. I love small businesses. I hate to hear about any of you guys losing it. All right, that's going to do it for the James Show today. If you need more James Show action, check out the podcast wherever you're already listening to podcasts. I prefer you go to WBAP.com or the WBAP app. Oh, no. Look. I'm sorry. I just scrolled to the bottom of my notes. I forgot about one more thing from the fire at the exotic pet thing. According to the report on CBS, I only read this on CBS, they said there was a witness that Dallas firefighters were seen performing CPR on a tortoise. I am not making that up. I know you think I'm saying that. Oh, the guy on the radio is making stuff up to try and be funny. That was really reported by CBS. Did it work? Can you give a tortoise CPR? How do you do chest compressions? You got to flip him over on his back? Can you just spin him like the Wheel of Fortune and just, pop him? So stupid. All right. I have to go look up CPR on a tortoise now. I'll report on tomorrow's James Show. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Mark Levin's up next. I'm James Parker. This is News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.